Let's ask Jason Fitz. He's the host of First Take, Your Take. We got a lot happening in the sports world right now and all over the world, of course, and we bring him into the conversation. Fitz, let me start with this one. A lot of sports are going to come back at the same time. We have the possibility of an NBA Finals Game 7 being played on the same night as Monday Night Football. Then my father texted me that he would watch a Game 7 of the NBA Finals over the Super Bowl. Which one would you go, Super Bowl or Game 7? Oh, he just dropped off the line there. We had a little bit of a reverb there. I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear that?
I did.
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback there from Fitz, so we'll try to bring him back. So we'll ask. It looks like he's calling on a different line here. So we'll ask him, though, if he's going Game 7 of the NBA Finals or Super Bowl. Now, what if it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals?
Ooh, see, it's funny you bring that up. I actually have some scenarios laid out for you. I want to see what would have to go down for you to choose watching a Flames versus Jets play-in round.
All right. Well, we got Fitz back on the line. Let me ask him then. All right. So if Game 7 of the NBA Finals happens, it would be on a Monday night against a Monday Night Football game. Which way do you go?
Well, that Monday Night Football game is going to be Saints and Chargers, I think.
Correct.
And, that's just not going to be a good game. So if we got Game 7 of the NBA Finals, I think it can actually hold up. I genuinely, as crazy as that sounds, I know the NFL is king. I think the NBA can hold up against them. And I think this could be a really interesting testing ground because I just talked to Woj on the show. And as we were talking to Woj, he said, heck yeah, they're going to look at this as a possibly permanent shift to the calendar for the NBA to take on the NFL, for a little bit, but then be there for us all summer.
I know the Atlanta Hawks ownership group brought the possibility up of moving to Christmas Day and kind of getting away from October, November regular season games up against the NFL. Now, to further this conversation, my father texts me and says he's watching Game 7 of the NBA Finals over the Super Bowl.
Ooh, well, that is a take right there. And then, congratulations.
Is that a
on
first
that,
take or your take? Which take is that one? I mean, I was like, what, Dad?
Well, that's his take. That's his take. I'm not taking your take anywhere around. No, I think the Game 7 has power, right? And think about this. So the best example of it is look at how well Game 7 of a World Series still does in the fall, even though it's up against everything else in the crowded calendar. The NBA is a more popular television sport than Major League Baseball is. So whatever Major League Baseball is doing in their playoff, I believe the NBA could do better. This is really, at its core, it's a shot that the NBA is looking at, and they're taking a look at it saying, hey, I think we can replace Major League Baseball as America's pastime in the summer. So why not in a summer where we have baseball games, but then the rest of our time is spent talking about, best sports movies or, Springsteen or Stallone arm wrestling movies? Like, why not take the opportunity instead to talk about NBA games? It would rule coverage for all of summer if that was what we had, ruling coverage for regular season games. That's a big win for the league.
Absolutely. I'm pretty excited. I'm not going to lie. I got like the juice surrounding just knowing the NBA has a date and it seems like everything's going to be approved once they speak. But what was your first initial thoughts when you saw that 22-team proposal?
That Zion Williamson just means that much. I mean, because let's face it, they played. I know that they want to get the TV money that they will get by playing some extra games. I understand it. I think they could have done that in creative ways. But what they really want to get is they want to get Zion in this playoff one way. Even if they got to shove him in there, they want Zion in. John Morant is absolutely the rookie of the year. I don't care what anybody says. But you've still got the brand that is Zion. And the fact is, the brand of Zion brings viewers in. So they were going to expand to make sure they find a way to get Zion Williamson in on this thing. But I'm excited, guys, because it's an important season, particularly for the Milwaukee Bucks, who are trying to prove to Giannis that they can win an NBA championship. Now they go into an interesting playoff where they've at least got a shot to do that. And if he can win a championship for Milwaukee, he becomes a hero to that city. And I think he signs the long-term deal. And suddenly the NBA has this mega team or mega star in Milwaukee that's going to be there forever. So I'm pumped for it. I got all the blood flow.
Are you pumped for the ideas that have come down of giving the higher seeds some sort of advantage, like an extra foul for one player, an extra timeout, an extra challenge, that kind of wonky stuff?
No, because I don't think any of that's real. That feels a little bit, circusy to me. And I'm not smart enough to do math, so I have other people do it for me. So I looked, and Stanford University did a study on home court advantage in the NBA playoffs. And over the course of 10 years, from 2009 to 2018, those 10 seasons, 74% of the time, the home team wins. So home team advantage is everything in the NBA playoffs. And when you think about that, that's why they're going to try and figure out some way to replicate it. But I would argue this. I think more often than not, the home teams are just better right now in the NBA. So I think you'll still see those teams be able, the best of the best are going to do well. And as was smartly pointed out by Woj with me a few minutes ago, any vote to do that, to give an extra incentive, would have to be voted on by all the league owners. So 2/3 of the owners would have to be comfortable possibly giving the Bucks, Lakers, and Clippers an extra advantage. I don't think they're going to do it. So I think it'll all pass, or all fail, I should say.
How big do you think choosing the hotel to stay in could be, or even just having the logos on the court?
I like, though, Fitz. I think that TNT or ESPN should actually do the hotel draft of which hotels the teams are drafting. That's got to be better than horse.
Oh, my God, yeah. And you want to talk about something they'll be fired up with. I mean, if they're going to be in a bubble basically living in these quarantine situations, which hotel they get is going to be a big deal, right? So gets you to get fired up. What if we did some sort of like relegation? You lose the game and you get stuck in one of the worst hotels. You just play throughout the whole series. Just make them keep moving.
That's great. That actually was one of the ideas that they threw out there, though. To let the best seeds pick the hotels first. That one I actually kind of like. I'll tell you what, it does give a little sense of some normalcy that, there's going to be games. I see the Sixers schedule in front of me here. They're going to play the Pacers, Wizards, Raptors, Suns, Blazers, Rockets, Wizards, Magic. So now we know the 8 games that everybody's going to start playing. So it does feel good. But we got to ask, I know over the last couple of days, you've had some really interesting talk about everything that's going on all across the world. Here in Atlantic City and in Philly, we've seen a lot of peaceful protests. We saw some rioting and looting, which was not very good to see. But what are some of the main takeaways that you got from some of the people that you had on your show the last couple of days?
Well, thanks for asking. And really what I tried to do over the last couple of days is take some of the conversations I've been having with my genuine close friends off air and really bring it to light. And I think the toughest part about that is, for me, I've often said, anybody that's followed me in music or sports, that I'm here to bring escapism. And I think escapism is important. I think we all agree with that. But I've used that as some degree also as part of a reason not to speak out on important issues. And I've often found myself saying, as somebody that today, turned 43, I sit there and say, well, I'm a 43-year-old white dude. What can I say about social issues that the Black community would even want to hear or respect? And what's been really eye-opening for me over the last week is talking to so many of my Black coworkers that I have great relationships with, and walking away from it saying, man, I've missed opportunities to speak with and together for people that I genuinely love that want me to speak. And so all this time I thought that that as a community, the Black community, hearing me speak on these issues would roll their eyes and say, what do you know? And in fact, what I found is the exact opposite. And the biggest encouragement from it that I've been giving everybody is, man, have the awkward conversations with your friends that don't have the same background that you have. Have the weird conversations. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions, and don't be afraid to ask what you can be doing to help people, because at a love level of just being there for other human beings, I think we can accomplish great things if we stop waiting for everybody else to change and we simply start having tough conversations with our immediate circle, asking questions of how we can be better humans for ourselves and for each other.
I think just having easy conversations and hard conversations, all like this, just asking you who's talked to others, can help people like us and our listeners out there, because obviously you're stationed where you are, we are stationed here, and yet we have a lot in common, all trying to figure this out together. So, Jay, appreciate you sharing that with us. And obviously, by the way, the poll question, Game 7 of the NBA Finals is winning 89% to Monday Night Football's 11%. So people want the big game. I guess that is an interesting dynamic to throw in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, what type of Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football game would have to be on for you to tune into Flames versus Jets over that football game,
Is that a Stanley Cup final possibility?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. Like, the Stanley Cup final is going to struggle a little bit more in this, but that's part of why I think the Stanley Cup playoffs needed to get ahead of it already. But if the game doesn't say, Raiders on it at some point, and it's a Thursday or Monday night game, and it's against a Game 7 of anything, I'm watching the Game 7. Come on, like the drama behind the Game 7, you can't touch it at all. You can't touch it.
Well, we're liking the fact that there's the feel that sports could come back, and then there's baseball. Jay, can they get out of their own way? Will they fix this mess?
No. And then the worst part about it is when they don't fix this mess and they get their butts kicked as a league, all of a sudden they're going to be taking on the NBA in the summer where they usually can get fans back. They're going to lose those fans because those fans are going to have something to watch. And the perception is going to be that the NBA figured it out where money wasn't an issue and the owners were willing to take a loss and the players were willing to take less because that's what America wanted. And the Major League Baseball didn't do it. Right or wrong, that's going to be the perception. So now all of a sudden you're going to have another viewing option. You have no reason to necessarily need to watch baseball because you can watch meaningful NBA games. So, that to me, this is part of the biggest loss that we could ever imagine for Major League Baseball.
He's the host of First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, at Jason Fitz on Twitter. And each week right here, we have a lot of fun and throw some things around. It sounds like we're going to get a chance to throw some games around in the next couple of weeks. Jason Fitz, everybody, here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks. Can't wait to be talking actual sports with you guys. Stay safe out there.
Soon enough. It sounds like it, guys.